Hey everyone, this is GosuDad, and welcome back to that final night in Season 6 of the Online Ladder. Game 3 in the set of 4 games played that final night, and this is Game 8, Telon versus CuePhoenix, Terran versus Terran on Shakura's Plateau. Hey everyone, this is GosuDad, and welcome to Shakura's Plateau, Terran versus Terran, another mirror matchup. So we're getting a lot of time to look at Terran versus Terran back here in Season 6, and being in the Silver League, I think this is when I got back into Silver League, you see a lot of Terrans, and you see a lot of Protoss, because Terran and Protoss, those two races are friendly for staying back in your base and tanking up, turtling up, and doing some tech or doing some expansion. Now, key here, of course, Terran versus Terran, we're looking for some differences in the players' play, differences in their tech choices, differences in their economy choices, and that'll kind of give us a hint as to what's going to happen later on in the game. Now, Telon made an interesting comment. He said it's nice that it's the end of Season 6, and I can't remember exactly how long Season 6 was, but for those of you that can remember, way back in the day, Season 7 was when they added some new maps into the map pool. In Season 6, I can't remember how many maps they changed, but I think the maps at that point were basically all Blizzard made, except for Telder Malter. And so in Season 7, Blizzard started to add in tournament maps, maps made by other map makers outside of the Blizzard arena, maps that were geared for tournament play. I think there was a Team Liquid map contest, I think it was, where they got those maps from. And I think that those maps are a lot better. They gave us a lot more, they kind of made the ladder a little more like a tournament setting, which I think is what a lot of people want. Hold on here for a cough. Once again, trying to make use of that mic off switch on my headset. So Telon doing a great wall off here, and CuePhoenix doing that as well. Now you would, the CuePhoenix not doing a great wall off. Oh, that's terrible. Look at that. Now I'm not sure that's really going to matter in this matchup, but it might. And especially if Telon is able to send in a scouting SCV to see what the tech choices are. And because we're in a mirror matchup, that's very important to see those tech choices. So Telon is going to be able to make tech choices without CuePhoenix seeing that vision at all. If we pop over to CuePhoenix's vision, we can see that there's no scouting done whatsoever by these players. So they don't even actually know that they're on cross-map positions, which affords players time to expand or to tech up. So CuePhoenix going for this double barracks, and I've mentioned many times that if you're going to build 2 barracks, the question is, are you going to put pressure? Because if you're not going to put pressure with the 2 barracks, there's no point in building the second barracks. You might as well save up those minerals for an earlier expansion or for a factory or for other tech structures. But building those 2 barracks, if you don't put pressure on with those Marines, you might as well not have even bothered. And you can see here I'm going for a factory. So it's like, again, here you see that I'm very indecisive with my play here, right? I built the 2 barracks, which you would say, oh, well, you're going for pressure with Marines, right? That's the only reason to build 2 barracks. But now I'm building a factory which says, oh, no, well, now you're going for tech. Well, which is it going to be? And if you look up here, I built a supply depot up near the front, but then I don't have a complete wall off because this reactor is not going to completely wall off this front. So really, at this point, I'm just getting sloppy. I think I'm getting tired at this point. Late in the day, losing some games, and now building a 3rd barracks. So it's like, okay, so now I'm building 3 barracks here. What's the point of that? I'm not building any army units. It's just a huge disadvantage for me. I'm not pushing ahead economically because I'm building all these army buildings, but I'm not building any army units. So at that point, I have basically no army units, and I have 1 army unit. Look at that. And he has 4. If we check out Telon's base, we can see that he went defensive with just this short bunker. So if you want to defend and have some time to build economy or to build army producing structures, all you need is a bunker, especially on this high ground. There's a lot of exposed ground here, so a bunker does just fine. And that's enough to cover, voila, a huge tech choice by Telon, going for early Banshee, and going not just for Banshee but cloaked Banshee. Now this is actually a huge risk on his part, because at this point in the game, wow, 6 minutes, this isn't even rushing to Banshee. If you remember some of my older casts, at this point he's just kind of leisurely moving into Banshee. So this Banshee is going to come out and cloaked likely and hit my base where I have no air defenses whatsoever. I've just got a handful of army units, and like I said over and over and over again earlier, You know, since I didn't make... I'm not even building units out of all these structures. Oh, excuse me. Well, I should have... well, hold on again. Man, this is crazy. Alright. Trying not to cough into this extremely sensitive mic. Okay, so we're going to see that Banshee coming out very quickly, and Cloak is going to finish while that Banshee's on his way. That's another advantage of those long distances, is that these Banshees will be able to make their way across the map, and as soon as Cloak hits, he'll be able to attack, and he'll even have a lot of energy stored up as he makes his way across the map. So all these things are great advantages for Telon, and even though his, you can look at the supply count, only slightly higher than CuePhoenix, and I think that's because I built a bunch of army units, finally, with all those army-producing structures. He's just going to be able to do a terrible amount of damage, because if you check out the inside of my base, I don't even have an engineering bay down, and at the 7-minute mark, that's just being sloppy. So here comes in Telon, not cloaking in yet because he doesn't need to, wants to save up that energy as long as he can. At this point, he's not seeing any reaction from myself, and I think at this point, I'm just looking at my screen and saying, ah, big sigh, is that really what this is going to be? And you can see this Banshee doing a terrible amount of damage. 9 kills, gonna be 10 kills. Cloaks, now he's just able to kill Marines. Now I did have 1 scan, and we can see that is the risk part of this Banshee play by Telon. If I have an engineering bay, just 1 or 2 missile turrets back here will prevent a 1 or 2 Banshee harassment from working. And if I'm lazy with my orbital command and I've got some energy left for mules, I can just scan and detect those Banshees as well. But he came in with the perfect situation. I was actually relatively up to date on my mules, and so I didn't have a lot of energy. I only had enough energy for 1 scan, and I had no engineering bay, and so cloaked Banshees are going to be able to do a terrible amount of damage. He's even going to be able to kill off the Marines if he wanted to, but at this point he's just going to continue killing workers, and we can look at that unit's kill tab and see that this is just a terrible way for a Terran to go. Terran versus Terran. Now, there's a question of, you know, is this cheesy that he did this? He went for Banshees, and I would say, well, first off, I think cheese relies a lot on speed, and he really took his time. I mean, that's a terrible use of the scan. That's a good example of a bad scan. So you're scanning to reveal the unit, but you're not bringing in your units are not close to him, because you can see the shimmer. Not only can you see the shimmer of the Banshee, but you can see where the missiles are coming from, so you can tell where the Banshee is, bring your Marines underneath the Banshee, and then hit scan. And actually, even just bringing the Marines closer, in some cases, defensive Banshee players will move their Banshees away because they'll be sensing that a scan is coming. But even so, it doesn't really matter at this point because I'm so far behind in the economy game. If you check out the income tab, I basically have nothing. I have fewer workers than I did at the start of the game, and I think at this point, I think it's like my last worker. That is my last worker. So until it's going to say that this is a very risky move, and you know, as we said, there's lots of ways for Terran to detect things, so it is very risky. Just, you know, a Viking and a Raven completely shut that down. But of course, you know, down here, Silver Bronze League, people on the ladder do that. They make their mistakes, especially at the, you know, there he says it's risky. He didn't say it was cheesy, he said it was risky, and that's very true. That is a very good observation about this game. And we'll head into the post game. So, what to talk about in a post game in a game like that? Well, I guess the main thing that we can talk about here is that, you know, you saw that I built a bunch of buildings at the front. Built a bunch of army-producing structures, but didn't produce an army. Built those 2 barracks early, didn't use those to build Marines and put on pressure. And because of that, Telon was able to tech safely in his base, as well as it also gives him the flexibility to use his Banshees offensively. So, even if I knew he was going for Banshees, it still can be safe to build army units as long as I push them forward to attack him and put pressure, because he'll have to bring his Banshees back to his base to defend. So Banshees can be used as a defensive unit, and he would have had to pull those back to defend had I pushed forward with my army units, and that would have kept him away from my base, which was the ender of the game. Now, in that case, of course, if I knew he had Banshees, bringing a detection would have been important. But there you can see, I mean, I don't know if you could even see it, but just earlier you can see that I was building a command center too. So I was trying to do too many things at once. I was trying to build army units, trying to build a command center, and you know, you really have to focus in this early game about what your first goal is. You need to have a goal coming into a game and pursue that goal by itself. If you do too many goals at the beginning, you're just going to get distracted and run into situations like this. So GosuDad signing off, and we'll head into the very final game of Season 6 of the Online Ladder, or you can check out my blog at gosudad.blogspot.com or the Twitter at GosuDad. See you guys later.